Okay, so welcome back to another episode of the dashboard creation. If you're new here, these videos are all about creating a dashboard that is used to monitor the currency strength or weakness in the market. Basically, monitoring the economic data and seeing how bearish, bullish, or neutral a particular currency is compared to another currency. And also doing this at the final stage of comparison to know whether or not you should be trading or not trading a particular currency. To create this dashboard, we have gone through a lot of pages. We've gone through the individual currency page, we've gone through the filter page, we've gone through the data input page, which is basically you collecting the news, investing.com news calendar and placing it straight in here without stress. This is more simpler than my own table. And then the news page finally. Now, the last video was quite long, hence I had to stop it. We had created the event filter page, the news filter page, where we can filter for a specific currency. So this is for AUD in particular. We had done this for AUD. I'm going to just do some smaller designs here to make the AUD far more beautiful when you see it at the top. So we've been able to make the AUD stand out in terms of just AUD. But however, we've not created the dashboard we see at the top. And this dashboard is what a lot of traders actually need the most. So in this video, we'll be creating this dashboard and let's head right into it. So to create that dashboard, it is, matter of fact, it is literally simple, absolutely simple. What you want to do, unlike my own, where I had it at the top, I don't want you to have to conflict formulas too much. So I'm going to do it like this. We're going to have it directly on the side, literally right there on the side. But to do that, what you want to do is there are some manual inputs, right? There are always some manual input. The manual input you need here is not actually much. It is very, very little, minimal and easy. You want to give it, first and foremost, you want to know the total overall, right? The overall power. Then you want to get the total indicator. So you don't need to write whether it's 1, 2, 3 or whatever. You want to get the total points a particular currency ended up getting, if it was good or bad. Then you want to get the percentage of strength or weakness. So percentage strength. And last but not least, you want to get the strength sentiment. So is it bullish, bearish, or neutral? Now, the formulas we're going to apply here are straightforward. Right, they're very straightforward. So the overall is the overall. We want to get all the leading indicators, how strong, weak, or neutral they are, all the coincidental indicators, and all the lagging indicators in this place. So this is the manual inputs, all done. After this point, all we're going to be doing is formulas, simple formulas. Again, this sheet is a sheet that runs on formulas. Like I said, we're going to be working on NZD because I want you to witness how collecting news that doesn't have actual can affect your information in the end. Now let's head right into this. So the total indicator score, total indicator. So this is the score the actual currency is supposed to get if it's 100% bullish. To do this, overall means every single thing put together. So sum up everything, right? Everything that has to do with indicator rank. In this case, it's just going to sum up everything on the K line. And there you have it, 230. Mine is 235. I think there's something missing. I'll check. Oh, you have more news than I do. I stopped at an earlier date. So 230. 232. That is surprisingly. Yep. These are neutral. These are all empties. Okay. It's fine by me. Now you have all of that. The next thing you want to do is you want to sum up all leadings. Now to sum up all leadings, this is where you need to, be quite careful. So equal to sum, but this time you're not just summing, you're summing with a condition. So sum if, right? You're going to sum, first reason you're going to look at. The reason is that this range, which is the type should be equal to leading. And if you notice that the type is equal to leading, you can now sum the indicator. So 35. This way, I don't have to stress myself because it's all the same thing pull it all the way down, I have all the coincidentals and all the leading or the lagging appearing immediately. For the total points, we're doing the exact same thing, right? We're going to just pull this right. That's all. We don't have to stress ourselves in that first one for the overall. You don't have to stress yourself at all. Now for the total points, this is where you need to be careful. Now remember, the indicator remains in the type remains static. So to keep the type static, you need to put a dollar sign before the J's. So dollar signs before the J, and also the fact that it is leading remains static. So you want to make sure it stays within the right place. So stay within N, but you don't want it to change from N5. So you could leave it at N5, right? So you press enter and then you pull it rightward. Now that way, it retains the fact that it is the leading score to be checked against everything here as leading, and then the total points it got as leading score points. And what you can see here is, oh, this currency is failing hard. Like I said, mine is going to be quite different because I don't think I have like the latest sets of news. But let's just get into the real deal, the calculator itself. Getting the calculator to work without stress. So we've done the overall indicator, total indicator power, and also the total points it's able to attribute or rather get. So the next thing we want to do next is we want to get the percentage strength. Now this is where the formula becomes quite confusing to some people. But to make this easy for us, I would simply copy this formula first, paste it in here, and I will explain what this formula really entails as we go on. Now, the very first thing here is I want you to understand this very simple logic. The numbers we see here appear between negative till positive. That is what it appears at. All right. Now, to make this a proper range, what we want to do is we want to do something very simple. I'm going to put this here and I'm going to make this a proper range. So where I see B3, I'm going to replace with this. Where I see C3, I'm going to replace with this. And what you see is, you would notice it's giving us point something. However, by the time you select number and changes to percentages, you see it's now showing you proper percentage. Me, I love to see 2 decimal places. You could leave yours as 1, doesn't matter. I like to just see 2 decimal places. So this is where the logic is. This number is the total score that it is supposed to get. Now, if this currency is supposed to be absolutely bearish, meaning totally bearish overall, it is supposed to be negative 232. So if the lowest value is negative 232 and the highest value is 232, what it means is basically I have 232 multiplied by 2 as the total range possible. I have 464 number range for it to appear. I'm trying to convert 464 range to appear between 0 and 1, which is in percentage, 0% and 100%. That is what we're doing in this formula, right? The formula created a range. The range is already existing. The range is this number multiplied by 2, basically. So if it was negative, it already converted it to positive by multiplying it by itself and negatives. Now for shifted range, what is shifted range? It's trying to get this number as a range value of this. That is trying to get the total point as a range value of the indicator. How does it do that? So if you notice, it first brings out the total point, which is the total indicator point, which is 232. And then multiplied it by a negative stance, which makes it negative 232. And then it multiplies it by another negative stance, which makes it positive 232. So then it has removed and added itself already. Then minus it from the original number we're seeing here, bringing it back to 237. So now we're now saying 237 divided by 232. So that way we get a proper score. Again, let me explain this. So I want to just make it a 4-number range. So you see, so we have 0, we have positive 116, and then we have positive 232. This is the range. 5, if you should put 5 is actually going to appear between this and this. Now if you should divide this into 0% to 100%, what is it going to be? This is going to be 25, this is going to be 50, this is going to be 75%. In between negative 232 and 232, 5 is going to be somewhere around here. And if you can see, 5 is just going to be above 0, going towards 116, positive 116. So 5 is supposed to be between 50 to 75%. And as you can see it here, it is 51.08%. So you can see how that formula works: accurate, correct, and truthful. Now, to do this, you need to now know whether it is strong, and this is still needed. To know whether it is strong, we have obviously 0 means it is very bearish. Again, we are monitoring degree of strength. That's the degree of strength it has. This is going to be bearish. This is going 50 is going to be neutral, right? This is going to be bullish. If it's 75%, it's already bullish, and 100% it is very bullish. However, we can't wait for 100% to determine if it is very bullish, right? Neither can we wait for 75% to determine if it is very if it's just bullish. So we'd actually need something called a range, which is 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, and 80 to 100. Now, why am I teaching you all of these stories? Is because that's what applies in sentiment strength, and sentiment strength is a very simple formula. All you're going to say is ifs formula. Now the ifs formula is a combined condition of and. So if the number, right, if this number is greater than 0, first condition, and it is less than, right, and the number again is less than, is equal to or less than, the next number we want to see is 20. So remember, you're going to be putting percentages at the back of this situation. So 20%. So this is the and condition. Now if it fits into this criteria, the word we're going to see is very bearish. That's the word we want to see. I don't like to rewrite formulas if I can edit it pretty fast. Like I said, I hate anything I can automate. So to me, I'll just copy all of this and paste it, and all I will simply do is edit the numbers here. So 40, we're going to skip all of this situation right now. It's stories. So there you have it, the entire formula in its glory. Everything written out quickly and fast, very simple. And those of you who are wondering how come I have colorations in my entire workbook, it's actually very simple. The colorations are simple conditioning. So this video is already long, as you can see. Now, to just shorten up the entire story, for intraday traders, day traders, you don't actually need a 14 days indicator. What you need is either 1, 2, or 3 days indicator, because what you're looking at is minutes, and the news that was released yesterday is what is going to be affecting the news until the new news is going to be affecting the market until new news is released. So a day or two is the maximum effect of a particular news for people like you guys. For guys who are above day traders, swing traders, you need news up to weeks, a week or 2 weeks. That's why I chose a 14 days barrier for my own self. As what you can see here is 14 days. Where is the formula? Sorry, I selected the wrong page. So that is why you can see me having 14 days. For those who I'm going to do is, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a 14 days immediately. So to do a 14 days, what you're going to do is simple. You're going to copy all of this and you're just going to paste. Now, you're not pasting as value anymore. You are pasting it directly. Now, 14 days is very simple. All you're going to do is you're going to create one simple edit here. Your edit is you're applying the condition. This is why we had the days away page, or rather the days away column. You're simply editing the formula to now allow the condition that this number is not more than the exact days you wanted. So in the case of, let's say you're trailing for let's say 3 days, right? For a day trader, or 2 days for a day trader. 2 days. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be saying anything sum is going to turn to sum ifs first and foremost. Some ifs. Sum ifs, the very first thing is this is the sum range, obviously. The second range is actually in this case is sum if. So sum if, remove the entire story here, and what you want to do is recalculate the overall. You want only the overall power of all the news of the past 2 days. So the very first range is that this must be, now the conditions for creating less than or equal to is, you're going to say less than, you're going to do this with, you know, a, what will I call it, a text-like manner. So and then you write 2, and then you select the total reach, close it, and there you have it. So how come it's showing me 0? Well, what you will notice here is if I apply a filter formula, a filter here, nothing here is less than, is 2 or less. So let's try 3. So there are 3, but it's not calculating, and this is because the formula we use is not correct. Why? Excel does not understand this statement equal to less than in this manner. So let's reattempt this in a different manner. We're going to remove the equal to sign, put it here, and enter. You see, it's still wrong. Why? Oh, sorry, I did that. So now it's working fine. You can see it's actually less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So now or equal to 3. You can see everything that is 3 here. The total score, if you add all of this, you can see it down here, is 21. And by the time you remove that filter, you see the total score is 21. Same thing is what you're going to apply here. But remember, you need to make sure this is locked down in your case. So in this case, I'm going to lock down this situation and lock down this one before I oh, I'm not supposed to lock down this. This is not supposed to be locked. This is supposed to be free, because that's what is changing. So you're going to bring this all the way down here. You can see this particular asset is bearish in the last 3 days overall. What is the leading indicator for this asset? Remember, because you used ifs before, the if condition, you need to now increase. You've already applied one conditions. What you need to do is apply 2 or 3 conditions here. So ifs, this time the sum range is going to be in the front when you're using the ifs formula. This is what you want to end up adding at the end. So what you want to add, make sure you lock it down. And the very first condition again, right, is the days. So you want the days condition locked down, and then is less than or equal to and 2. So it must be less than or equal to 3 days. We use 3 days in our case. And the last condition is that the type of news, make sure it's locked down again, is the same thing as the specific news we're seeing here. And in this case, I'm only going to lock out the column name, which is N. So you can see for leading news, there has been no news in the past 3 days. There has been no leading news in the last 3 days. So what does that actually mean if you're looking at it for real? What that means is for the past 3 days, there has been no news to stop this market from going even further down. That's what it means. Now, you'll notice this divisible formula here, meaning it's not going to work. So what you're going to do is you're going to change it. Situations like this are just neutral. So what you're going to say is, under the place you have the final if, the final formula, you're going to say if error, close bracket, you're going to come between these two, right? You're going to say comma 0.5, or you just say 50%, and then you close it up. But it's not going to work because that is not where the bracket is supposed to be. This is where it's supposed to be, and then enter. So when you apply this formula, you can see that the formula is now working fine, returning neutral for you in the right place at the right time. So just like this, we have finished creating the very first dashboard completely. The only thing left is colorations. I have colorations on my own end. If you want to color yours, it's very simple. You highlight all of this, you go to conditional formatting, highlight, and you say text that contain. In this case, since I want the red to be bearish, I'll say only text that contains the word bearish should be red. Come back here, select it again. Text that contain the word bullish should be green, right? Obviously green for bullish, and neutral should just stay the same way. In order for me not to overtype this thing over and over again, I just come here and highlight the entire line. And what you see is I can then paint this and paint this. So just like that, we have made the what is it called? We've made the dashboard completely on our own for free, with no money paid, no money spent. Excel doing the entire heavy lifting for us. This is 3 days. So this is 3 days. I'm going to select the whole thing, give the whole thing a border, select the whole thing, give it a border, and I'm fine. Now, how do you change this to another currency? Like I said, this was not supposed to be long. This was supposed to be short. How do we change this to another currency? Well, it is pretty simple. This is like the shortest part of the entire hook here. What you're going to do is you're just going to say, right click on the sheet name, go to move, come to the move to the end, tick create a copy, and create a copy of it. So like I said, I was going to be focusing on NZD, right? The New Zealand dollar. And when I select on NZD, I would come here and make it NZD. But that's not all. Something is missing. Some things are showing up and showing me dates and rubbish. How do I get NZD? Don't forget, I'm not actually looking at NZD news here. I was looking at AUD news. So to get NZD news, I'll come back to this page and make sure I'm selected on NZD. Then I'll collect all the news relating to NZD. In particular, I'll delete every single news I am seeing in this place. So when you paste as value, you start getting some shabby little nonsense at first, right? But what you do is, the very first thing you want to do is you want to work on the events. You allow the sheet calculates. It's going to take a while to calculate the very first time. But after it calculates that first time, you now have chance to do what you want to do. You will notice some of the things at the bottom are irrelevant. You can delete those rows. Another thing you quickly notice is the calculator is already recalculated immediately to suit the situation, right? To suit the situation of the market of this particular asset we're looking at. What you want to do next is you just want to now remove the unnecessary. Be careful when removing blank spaces here, because if you have your dashboard to the side, right? Because your dashboard is to the side, if you delete this row, for example, I delete this row, I'll end up deleting the overall in this case, which is not supposed to be so. So I do not want to delete the overall. So you have to be careful when doing that movement, or rather when trying to attempt this deleting situation for this particular one. And also be careful when inserting rows too. When you insert rows in places, you need to make sure you are targeting spaces where this dashboard is not in existence. In other words, what you can do to save yourself from all this stress is to take all of this, and this is part of the reasons why I made my own dashboard, this at the top and that at the bottom, is to take this just below the place this meets. That's what you could do to save yourself the hassle. And then you can now carry out your proper delete and edit. So in this case, I'm going to delete all of this. You might see your Excel load a lot. My case is loading because I already have like a heavy duty sheet. This is a heavy duty sheet if you're looking at it, but it's quite light when you're done with the very first formula. Automatically, it's going to insert those rows, run the calculations. If this is enough, it will cover the whole problem. And then all I do next is highlight the two rows and drag all the way down to the ending. So with this, I have shown you exactly how to create this dashboard sheet yourself. You can recreate it for other currencies. I've taught you how to create the AUD NZD. Now, another thing I was most particular about showing you was how a particular issue could lead to more problems for you. So let's take a good look at that situation right here. The CPI news has been released, or rather has not been released for 19th, because today is 19th and it hasn't come out yet. But if you go to the CPI, what you're going to notice here is it is taking account of that thing and it is telling you that it is bullish, which is wrong. You get it? You can now see that it is calculating it as bullish when it's not even seeing a difference. These errors are errors that you can avoid by simply not entering details that are not on the sheet. So my advice for you, delete things like this. You're going to see the sheet recalculate, and now you're going to see it take itself back to the proper CPI news that it's supposed to calculate with. Here it still says quite bullish. That is weird. Let's confirm that situation ourselves. We're going to go back to this page. We're going to select for everything that is just CPI. We're going to select for CPI. Then we're going to target our currency, which is NZD. Obviously, we're looking for the very last set of news. This is the very last set of news. You can see that there is a difference. You see the difference so small, and it's bearish. The reason why it is returning, oh, now it's correct. You can see it was recalculating all this while. Now it has recalculated properly. You can see it's constantly recalculating as you do what you do. And by the time you go to the top page, see the data, you have for yourself a properly recalculated data for that specific currency. Again, the 0% is showing me error, which is still crazy. Oh, absolutely zero. Oh, the formula was different. So the formula I said was greater than 0. It was supposed to be greater or equal to 0. So that way it can take that into account, that 0 is part of the number. So these little corrections are things that you need to take care of, watch and learn. All right, so I've showed you guys how to recreate it for 2 currencies in a row. I'm going to then finally end up the next video with showing you the entirety of the last page, which is the final page, the boss of the boss, the comparison page. And then the news history is going to be something we're going to look out for later. So the comparison page is a page where you finally pull out each currency and their situation, the overall and other situations. And then finally, you pair them against each other to get a direct pair comparison. The market is measured in pairs. You should be able to do your analysis in pairs too. And last but not least, we're heading to the news in history, and finally we'll go into dashboard creations. See you all on the next one. This video was really long. Thank you. Peace.